Like a good portion of the inventions of the last decade were done by some dude that was stoned out of his mind in his garage one night that was like, you know what? I think it'd be cool if we could share our homework on like a secret network that other people couldn't get to.
Okay, just when you copy it, just change it so it doesn't look the same.
Change it so it doesn't look the same.
Mute the mics as we go.
It helps if you unmute things.
Wow.
I don't know why it helps if you unmute things.
Wow.
I would think that was probably the best part of the entire show for our listeners, was that 5 seconds.
Brutal start. That was savage.
Savage. Flawless victory. Fatality.
Wow. Welcome to the Naked Apple, where we have almost as many viewers as Joe Biden had for his State of the Union address. Was it State of the Union or was it not?
It was not.
Confused.
It was a joint address to Congress,
which the State of the Union generally is.
But yes, it was not a State of the Union because he wasn't stating the State of the Union. He was jabbering.
My favorite part about that whole thing, he wasn't wearing a mask. House floor rules from Nancy Pelosi is everyone in there has to wear a mask even when they are speaking. The exception for Joe Biden is he's not a lawmaker, so he doesn't have to wear a mask. Convenient, really.
Yeah.
Real convenient. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Ish. And vitamin B.
Yeah, we got a great show. Let's take it into the vitamins.
Dive into that happy vitamin.
Dive into the happy vitamin B. Here we go. Welcome to the Vitamin B. We have some great news for you this week. First in the celebrity news, Melinda Gates filed for divorce after discovering Windows 95 launch video. If you've ever seen the video, you know why.
That's funny.
In your public safety news, police shootings have dropped to 0 after mass hiring of stormtroopers. It makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense. I would also think that police shootings would drop to 0 when you stop hiring police, but, you know.
Yeah, there's that as well. But it's all good and well until they're told to execute Order 66.
Well, see, those were clone troopers, not stormtroopers.
Oh, there's a difference there, yeah.
That's the caveat right there.
That's the caveat. But it's okay because we will probably never get to that position because a new poll finds that 23% of the galaxy believes they are more unified since Palpatine became emperor. I mean, Biden became president.
Oh.
A
whole 23%.
A whole 23%, yes.
Whole
23%.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of our dick in chief, with enough vaccinations, I'm prepared to authorize the use of sparklers on the 4th of July, says a barely conscious Biden.
What's that? Did I get my pudding?
Is it tapioca?
Chocolate.
Oh, and last but not least, Biden relocates 20,000 National Guard troops to inner cities to snipe menthol cigarettes out of people's mouths. It is the only way to enforce such things. And I am on board for this type of...
Lights it up, just stabs it out of his hand.
Yeah, it's just take it right out because those are dangerous.
Did you know these things are racist?
And racist, yes, indeed. It's because half of them, or 3/4 of them, depending on what kind you're using, are white.
What better way to stop racism than to get rid of a product whose sales are predominant or dominated by a certain race?
Right, exactly.
Yes, that's a great way to curb racism.
And this has been your Vitamin B. That was fun.
That was fun.
And best thing is that Bill Gates actually is getting divorced, and he didn't have a prenup. So
And Biden does have a 23% approval rating for Unity.
oh, it's like they just take things that are real and make fun of them.
Because satire, honestly, is too hard at this point.
Right? Like, yes, we're not even going to try. We're just going to make fun of the actual news.
For example,
Oh, no.
a huge rocket from China's space station launch could fall back to Earth.
How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you.
Totally uncontrolled.
Wait.
Totally
That's
uncontrolled.
so they didn't even aim it?
Well, I mean, they launched it, and the payload got into space and is floating around like it's supposed to. The mechanism, the bottom part of the rocket that delivers the top part into space, didn't detach properly, and it kept going up into space with the payload, and now it's just kind of floating. And the good news is, they do know. We're pulling this story from Business Insider, but we do know that the rocket could fall anywhere between as far north as New York and as far south as New Zealand. Anywhere in that kind of range.
Well, at least we're safe on the West Coast.
So long as we're outside of that north-south range, we should be fine, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The rocket, it's let's see. It was 100 feet tall and 21 tons. And China lost it.
You lost it?
No, she was just...
She was just right here.
You just
I left it right here. Right here. Started the Long March 5B. Long March, interesting. 5B's core stage started circling the planet uncontrolled. The rocket body is likely to fall to Earth sometime in the next few days. I think by current standards, it's unacceptable to let it re-enter uncontrolled. No. Jonathan McDowell, an astronomer who tracks objects orbiting Earth, told Jones, since 1990, nothing over 10 tons has been deliberately left in orbit to re-enter uncontrolled.
Does that mean that things have been left in orbit to enter uncontrolled not deliberately?
I mean,
I think this would qualify as that
stands,
particular.
It stands to reason. The rocket stage measures about 100 feet long, 16 feet wide. It's just a 10-story building falling down. When it falls out of orbit, it may burn up in Earth's atmosphere, but large chunks of debris could survive the fall. Most of the planet is ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where falling rocket bits are most likely to land.
Shh. Do you hear that? That's the sound of forgiveness.
That's the sound of people drowning, Carl.
That is what forgiveness sounds like. Screaming and then silence.
All right, so we have actual rocket scientists looking into space, tracking this thing, they can tell you how hot a planet is billions of light years away. They can tell you the trajectory of comets and moons and stars and all this stuff billions of light years away. A 10-story building floating around Earth? Oh.
Science!
Oh. It could. Well,
And I did that while staring
course.
directly into your eyes.
of course, that being said, these are probably from the same cut. These scientists are probably cut from the same cloth as the WHO scientists that went to investigate China, and China said, we investigated ourselves and we're good.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for
So
them.
China tells us it could fall anywhere between New York and New Zealand. So it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's nothing to worry about.
This is fine.
They're
This is
tracking
fine.
it.
It's fine. It's fine.
In some better news,
Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness.
yes. In some better news, which means it's probably not going to come to fruition. Hata! Nuclear fusion is no longer science fiction.
Yay.
Woot!
I didn't realize it was science fiction. I thought that was something that we invented, I don't know, like 70 years ago.
No. There are differences between fusion, fission, and all those different things.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is fusion.
Fusion. There's
Gotcha. Like the
there's-
Snapple drink.
Yes.
All right. I understand.
Since scientists first demonstrated nuclear power 70 years ago, the second stage of nuclear power has remained just beyond our fingertips. Nuclear fission. Nuclear fusion power.
Not to be confused with fission, which is a type of sport that is done usually with a hook, line, and sinker.
While promising the ETA on the technology required to develop and build viable nuclear fusion has remained decades away until now. Probably. A company claims to have hit a critical milestone in development of a new technology capable of generating power from nuclear fusion, according to a recent press release. Called TAE Technologies, the fusion energy developer claimed its reactors might generate energy at commercial scales by the end of the 2020s. Awesome. Using a novel ability to produce a stable plasma at temperatures topping 50 million degrees Celsius. Whatever that means.
Excelsior.
I don't know what that means in American temperature, but I presume it's hot. For comparison,
It's
this
very,
is
very
more
hot.
than twice the temperature of the core of the sun. We're just going to have that contained right here on Earth.
I think it's brilliant that we should have something that is twice as hot as our sun on the surface of our planet. Which is why I love Texas.
That's a heat
Ba-dum.
joke. Yeah. In the middle of all this scientisty gobbledygook is actually really promising stuff, because Mike and I have said before with green energy stuff, if they actually believed in green energy, they'd help pursue nuclear power, because it's the most reliable, greenest energy we have currently.
I mean, it creates something that's twice as hot as the sun. So
And if nuclear fusion works, it is even more powerful and clean and all that as current nuclear energy, which is fission, I believe, which is the separation of atoms. This is the fusion of atoms. Kind of like they're creating material instead of destroying material. It's one way to look at it. Yeah. So we're just gonna. I think there was a picture of a guy that looked oddly like Dr. Octavius from Spider-Man, but aside from that,
which one?
aside from that, it should be fine.
The video game, movie 1, or movie 2?
I don't know. He had 4
Or
arm
the
things coming out of his
cartoon, or the other cartoon, or that one cartoon from the 90s, or that other cartoon from the 80s. It's
Now that you mention it, Spider-Man is probably the most
remade. Yeah, only a lot.
It's just no consistency.
Hashtag Andrew Garfield is the real Spider-Man.
Let the comments flow.
Nerd fight. I really want to know how it's supposed to work, though. Like, it doesn't actually give a clear, at least not as far as I'm seeing.
Yeah. Like I said, scientisty gobbledygook. Something that
It's just like we hit a milestone by making a plasma that burns twice as hot as the sun. It proves that plasma can do what we thought it would do. You don't actually tell me how that pushes anything forward or how I'm supposed to use that for energy.
This is basically how I approach these things. They're discovering things that Einstein couldn't even theorize about.
Yes.
And Einstein helped create the first nuclear weapons.
They have a machine called Norman.
And I don't understand a lot of Einstein's stuff that he understood and taught about. So I'm definitely not going to understand things that Einstein didn't learn. I'll just chalk it up as this is probably fine.
That's probably fine. There is no way that having a miniature sun on our planet could ever possibly go wrong.
The world is already on fire. What's another sun?
You're not wrong.
Speaking of education, if you want to go to Tulane University, you can be graced with a class about fake news from the one and only Hunter Biden.
Because nobody understands fake news better than him. I think it's a perfect fit.
Does this pass the smell test for anyone? I almost want to take it just to see what he talks about.
Well, he's going to talk about the cover-up of his laptop, of course.
Then I'd sit back, sit in the back of the class like, what's his name? The Asian guy from Hangover.
Gay.
Ha! Gay! I'll allow
What
it.
do you think? That's what they do. They can make up anything.
Yeah, Hunter Biden is set to lecture students about fake news in a new class at Tulane University this fall. Reserve your seats, kiddies. A syllabus for the class, Media Polarization and Public Policy Impacts, claims America has a rapidly advancing partisan divide, fueled substantially by the growing political polarization in media. It adds that it will explore the current state of the media landscape in the United States and how media polarization, fake news, and the economics of the news business impact public policymaking in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Some additional guest speakers. Fox News' Juan Williams. That's a great one. Former White House coronavirus response coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx. Yeah, that's a great one, too.
Perfect. It's perfect.
The New Yorker's Susan Glasser. I'm sure she's fine. Washington Post, Margaret Sullivan. Yeah. CNN's Kyle Atwood. Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan. The New York Times, Brett So Fox News' Juan Williams is there. Hey, we're getting both sides. Deborah Birx was under Trump. We're getting both sides. Nah, not with Juan Williams. No.
Right.
Yeah, and then the conservaverse on the Twitterverse took a little issue with that. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there they are, doing all their things. So yeah, that
All four of them.
and I'm sure he got that because he's a very accredited professor background resume thing, and nothing to do with his father being president of the United States.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all to do with that. So, if you missed it, which you most likely did, Joe Biden gave his little speechy speech. Got all drugged up, so he sounded coherent-esque during his speechy speech.
Yes.
Last week. A lot of it was filled with nothing, and a lot of it was filled with dangerous things. At the very end, he says, we, the people, are the government. No. 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 No.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
No. And I stumbled across something interesting because in his speech, he talks a lot about China and autocracy, that these autocratic countries are catching up to the United States, which is why we need to add 4 years of education to the already 12 years that we have, starting at 3 years old and going to 2 years of free college. We need to make sure that it's not just, generalized teaching. It's teaching them practical things like metallurgy and other things that he said.
I mean, metallurgy.
Yeah.
That's a thing everyone needs to know.
I thought that was hilarious because modern metallurgists are few and far between because they're at steel mills where they're making sure the mixture of steel is correct for the order. Outside of that, a metallurgist is more of a hobbyist where they're beating stuff on an anvil and throwing it in the fire.
But it's okay because if your job isn't actually needed, then you can just go, write code or something.
Yeah. And that was another thing, too, where the U.S. isn't really all that great at making steel right now.
Wonder why.
Nothing to do with executive orders that shut down a lot of the industry.
Nothing.
Tied
Nothing
in
to
with
do with
oil.
You know what?
Yeah.
You should all learn metallurgy. Let me shut down steel mills.
Yeah, let's shut down coal and oil because those are dirty, don't need those. But we're going to make sure that we can train a bunch of steel people who need coke, which is something that's found with coal and oil.
Did you say Coke?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not Coca-Cola, it's a different thing. Something called coke.
Like cocaine?
It's a type of coal. It's kind of like an oily coal. They call it coke.
Okay.
But yeah,
That makes so much more sense.
In order to harvest the materials that are crucial for steel, such as coke, you need coal mines and or oil places finding the coke. But those aren't allowed to really do their thing all freely anymore. So yeah, that was but on the autocracy thing, I thought that was interesting, and then I stumbled across this thing from CNN, where CNN points out that go to the thing, the thing, the thing. There it goes. Biden says China is betting the U.S. can't keep up with autocracy. Before his speech, he met with reporters and talked to reporters about stuff. And here's some of what he said. Speaking in the afternoon, he approached his 100th day of office just hours before his address to joint session of Congress. Biden said this moment in time is pivotal. They're going to write about this point in history, Biden told a small group of network and cable news anchors assembled at the White House. This is something that Woodrow Wilson did. He picked his elite staff of reporters that he trusted and shared the actual news with them. So they could go and spread it around. Not about any of us in here, but about whether or not democracy can function in the 21st century. Biden continued, things are moving so damn rapidly. Things are changing so rapidly in the world, in science and technology and a whole range of other issues that the question is, in a democracy that's such a genius as ours, can you get consensus in the time frame that can compete with autocracy?
Sometimes my genius It generates gravity.
Generates gravity. Yeah.
Oh.
That's just a little. Right here. Here's some more. This government is founded on this notion that, sounds corny, we the people. And there's nothing we're going to be able to get done unless we can convince the American people it's possible to do it.
Correct.
Reflecting on his first 100 days in office, Biden said his goal was clear: ease the pain, save lives, put people in a position where they have reason to believe that they could actually get back and earn a living and provide for their families. That's how I looked at the first 100 days.
You failed miserably.
Yes, and this isn't everything that he said, because if I can find the rest of it, he talks even more so about that first part I read. He said democracy cannot keep up with China and all these things. I think it's...
No, that's Xi Jinping is betting that democracy
yes,
cannot
yes.
keep up with China. Let me clarify that is how they word it anyway. But there's a lot of little spots in there that denote that they left things out.
Yeah. Which is why I want to try to find the more of what was actually said, because there's one part where I know he says he's been convinced for a long time, and then he stops himself and then says something else about autocracy catching up and being superior. And then he comes out on the floor and he says people are saying that autocracy is catching up. But I believe America can do it. Do you, Joe? Do you? Because you've shut down every possible way for America to do it.
Not only that, but every policy that you're putting forward is directly detrimental to everything about our country.
Yes.
Your proposals for all of these plans to just throw money at shit are going to wreck our country.
Uh-huh.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm a little annoyed.
It's only been about $19 trillion the U.S. has just pumped into its economy the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And
do you know how inflation occurs?
And that's not including the, what was it, 5 or 6 trillion he proposed last week?
Yeah.
Which is more than the U.S. GDP in a year.
Do you know how inflation occurs?
Yes.
Inflation, for our listeners that don't understand inflation, basically the simple version of inflation is when your currency outruns your supply. That's more or less how it breaks down. So what happens when you have a Fed that decides to just print money? We're just going to print currency because we need to throw money at stuff.
My dollar's still worth $1.
No, it's not.
It's not, because
It's not at all.
imagine, if you will, you had a signed Mickey Mantle rookie baseball card. Super valuable, right?
Sure.
Mike knows basically nothing about baseball.
I know bupkis about baseball. I have a baseball game that I'm trying to sell because I don't do baseball.
It's even like a special collector's edition.
It's like a special collector's edition that I got with a console.
Don't know,
and I'm
don't
like,
care.
I don't know, don't care. Just give it away.
But yeah, it's like a super rare trading card, baseball card,
Okay.
whatever. Now, if thousands of those are printed, exact replicas of those cards, does that card maintain its value?
No.
Oh. If they go back and edit the stats of other players at the time that this rookie card came out so that other players look just as good, if not better, than that rookie, does the card hold its value?
No.
Oh, that's inflation.
Yeah. Basically.
Remove the value.
Basically.
Basically.
But yeah, and it is no more evident than it could possibly be today. like you look at literally anything. Look at wood. Look at PVC pipe. Look at housing. Look at housing. The housing is the perfect example of inflation.
Yes.
Right now. Everybody's complaining, oh, we can't afford a house. Well, you can't afford a house because your dollar is worth shit right now.
Yeah, because
and you're on top of the fact that, especially here in Utah, we have a severe supply shortage because we have all these people moving in that just have tons and tons of cash that are just paying cash for houses and paying way above asking price, driving the market through the roof because you have a surplus of cash, a surplus of currency, a surplus of trade good with a very low supply of the actual desired item. That's economics 101. Supply and demand. Is how it works. So the entire idea behind currency was to give everyone a basic common denominator that they could trade with. Because before currency came around, we were trading chickens and eggs and whatever good that we had that we created with our own hands for other things that we wanted. So they created currencies, gold coins, silver coins, copper coins, and eventually dollars and different things like that, so that we had a common currency to trade with that everybody would say, okay, this has value, and we can trade with it. And originally, all of those things had an actual physical value. A gold coin is a gold coin. Gold has value because it's gold. It is limited in existence. It is limited in printing. It is limited in all of these things.
Yeah, the way the gold standard worked was we had gold bars stored at Fort Knox.
Mm-hmm. And that's eventually where it went to with when we invented currency, when we invented the dollar, we had it backed by gold.
Yep.
That's what he's talking about, the gold standard.
Yes, and each gold bar was stamped with the value of the gold bar. Mm-hmm. So a pound of gold, or however much the bar weighed, was worth $1,000. Mm-hmm. So if you had $1,000, you could, theoretically, go to Fort Knox, give them $1,000, they give you a gold bar. Mm-hmm. And
it's the general idea.
You hold on to that gold bar for a while, you go back to Fort Knox, give them the gold bar, they give you $1,000 cash.
Mm-hmm. And it was balanced.
And the way that wealth was increased was we got more gold.
Mm-hmm. And then it was, which president was it that took us away from the gold standard?
Was it FDR?
Yeah, I think so. So you have this idea now of it started way back in years and years ago. This idea that
FDR,
yeah, back in FDR has this idea that money should only have value because we say it has value. So he stops backing it with gold.
$1 is $1.
$1 is $1. Okay, what does that mean? It means nothing. It's a piece of paper with ink on it.
If you've ever watched Rick and Morty, Rick completely destroys a planet by going to where their money standard is kept. And on the computer, it says 1 equals 1. And he goes into the computer, deletes the 1, and puts a 0. So it's 1 equals 0. And their entire planet just collapses. Mm-hmm. That's what FDR did.
That's
basically
the idea. So now, if you don't have anything backing your dollar, the only thing that gives the dollar value is its scarcity, its rarity. Well, what happens when you then go and just print all the money you want? Your money has no value. It is completely meaningless. And that is what they have done to our currency system. They have completely devalued and completely destroyed the ability that we have to trust in that system by creating this new monetary system where, well, your dollar has value because the government says your dollar has value. A dollar doesn't actually have any value at all.
Yeah. Once it was removed from the gold standard, it was just a piece of paper that everyone trusted had some sort of intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm. And it's getting to the point where it has so little value that they can't even trade against it. So now our lovely government is coming out and saying that, you're a government employee. Well, in order to have a pension now, you don't get to save your money. You have to purchase government bonds.
Yeah, government bonds are for the first time publicly traded now.
And not only that, but they're completely doing away with government pensions, and your pension is purchasing a bond.
And
You're basically betting money on the roulette table that the government will uphold their bond.
that the dollar won't collapse.
Yep.
And
That's your pension now if you work for the government.
and before
Congratulations.
this, the Federal Reserve, was the one that bought the bonds. The Federal Reserve is not part of the federal government. It's an organization of 5 large banks.
The 5 largest banks.
Yeah.
Which are too big to fail, and yet every time the smallest hiccup happens in our economy, what happens?
We have to write them a check.
We write them a check.
And then they print money to cash the check that we give them to pay themselves with interest.
Yep. Congratulations. Our entire system is completely wrecked.
Now you add on top of that, Joe Biden in his speech said, let's get that $15 minimum wage thing going. And let's create all these jobs.
It's called inflation.
Green energy, jobs. That's what you should be thinking when you hear green energy is jobs.
Just go learn how to code.
Driving around, at least here in the Utah area, pretty much everywhere I go, now hiring. Everywhere is
We can't find people.
hiring. Why can't they find people? Well, in Utah, at least, unemployment is $543 a week. That equates to $13.57 an hour. So you could go work at McDonald's for $13 an hour, because I've seen that. I've seen that sign, hiring at $13 an hour.
Yeah, that's $13.57 untaxed.
Untaxed. No taxes.
No taxes.
$13.57 an hour. So you can go work at McDonald's for $13 an hour and hate your life, flipping burgers and wearing a mask and whatever else you hate about working at McDonald's. Or you could stay home and play video games, buy some Dogecoin for $13.57.
It was 5 what?
$5.43 is what I'm seeing.
That's the equivalent of about $16.50 an hour with standard tax rate.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you get, if it's a married couple, you get the married couple, both of them filing for unemployment, and they get $27 an hour untaxed to not work, to not produce goods to be sold, to be taxed so that the government can make money to actually pay for unemployment. What kind of system is being built right now?
That's $55,000 a year for a married couple
To do nothing.
in unemployment. To do nothing.
Well, they're going to spend the money somewhere. Where? Everyone's not working. They're not going to Disneyland because that's all closed up. Might as well be.
When your incentive is to do nothing, you're going to do nothing.
When your incentive is to get basically the same reward for doing nothing, you're going to do nothing. Now, if minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour, what does that mean for unemployment?
Means
Unemployment has to go
up.
to be more than that. I am of the opinion that unemployment should be a next to nothing, because you shouldn't be relying on the government
Like maximum half.
of minimum wage.
Yeah.
No,
if you have a minimum wage.
because then they'll just up the minimum wage. If you tie it to that's what I first thought is it should be minimum wage. Then I thought no, because then they'll just up
because then they just up minimum wage. But this is the trick. It's half of minimum wage if there's no minimum wage. So it's nothing. It's half of nothing is nothing.
I would be okay with if you're gonna keep it at where if you don't want to move it because that's unfair. Blah blah blah. You only get it for 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm. It is a transition.
Because if you can't find a job in a job market that's hiring everywhere,
literally,
in 2 to 3 months, you don't deserve to have the life that you're living.
But then you create a market where there isn't anyone hiring because everybody's actually working.
Oh, no. Anyway.
Oh, no. Anyway.
And that's just in Utah. In Florida, they're paying people to do interviews at McDonald's. And they're still not getting anyone to be hired.
Say what now?
Yeah.
I'm going to go on vacation to Florida.
I'm going to be right back.
I need some extra money. I'll be right back. I've been sitting here looking at like these research things. Is like, we'll pay you to come do this stuff. And I'm like, I would love to, but for one, I'm too fat for most of your stuff, and for two, I just don't have the time because I have a real job.
I don't have that much PTO.
like seriously, it's like $12,000 to go sit in a month. Like $12,000 untaxed to go for a month to be a guinea pig in somebody else's lab. Like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, Here's the story here. I just pulled it up. One Florida McDonald's offers $50 to anyone who interviews for a job. You don't even have to accept the job. You just got to show up for an interview.
Wow.
And they'll give you $50. And this McDonald's is still not getting anyone to come and work for them.
I know about 6 guys whose names all rhyme with Mike that would love...
It's all right if I sign an X's. Only 5 of us can write.
You look just like the last guy, but with a do-rag on. What? You talking to me?
He's my cousin.
He's my cousin. Are you wearing fake teeth?
No.
No.
Oh, this old thing? No. Let's see. What else?
All of the things.
But yeah, that whole speech is just bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. It's all about developing more dependency on the government. There's one thing in there where he says all these innovations were made possible because of the government. He pointed to the internet.
To speak does not make you intelligent.
Yeah, he pointed to the internet as one of them, as one of the big ones. Just because Al Gore said on the Senate floor that he made the internet possible doesn't mean that's actually what the story is, because it's not.
At all.
It's a couple of universities, more specifically a couple of guys at a couple of universities that decided they needed a way to share their homework with each other. And so they did. Mm-hmm. And then the government stepped in and said, hey, what you got there is a good idea. Let us fund your project. Okay.
You know, I have found that lack of sleep and desire to cheat are 2 of the greatest innovators in our country's history. Along with probably a little bit of weed and some munchies.
Yeah, them munchies.
Especially the last, 80 years. You know, like a good portion of the inventions of the last decade were done by some dude that was stoned out of his mind in his garage one night that was like, you know what? I think it'd be cool if we could share our homework on a secret network that other people couldn't get to.
Okay, just when you copy it, just change it so it doesn't look the same.
Change it so it doesn't look the same. Al Gore comes crashing through the garage door the Kool-Aid Man. Oh, yeah!
I heard you were trying to invent something.
I'm fantastic at changing a couple things so it looks like my work.
Yeah. Took a page out of Bill Gates' book. What?
Oh gosh.
Or Steve Jobs. What?
Yes. The yes to both.
The eyes are open, the mouth moves.
Wrong one.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
I reached up and pushed right in between, but I was just a little bit too far.
It was a gamble.
Missed. I missed.
Yeah.
Either one. They both work.
So this autocracy thing, though, it's not the first time this has popped up in the U.S. The last time it popped up strongly was in the 1930s because FDR thought that Hitler was the bee's knees. He said, look what Hitler's doing. He's got this Autobahn going. He's got this Volkswagen company thing going.
Just ignore
really
the genocide.
Cheap cars. They're making cheap cars because they're forcing Jews to make the cars for free, which is a slavery.
Slavery.
FDR was racist. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he because they had kind of similar language back then too of look, Germany is pulling ahead. Look at all this innovation they've got. They've got this technology development. They've got this economy that's
You
growing.
make me wonder what's about to happen with China.
And now we have Biden. China's got all this stuff going for them. They're catching up. Russia has all this stuff. Look, they're catching up to us. We
Just see if China can keep their genocide under wraps enough to take over.
It's a
few
good
more
thing.
countries.
Neither of those countries are participating in any kind of genocide against a religious population.
Especially one named Uyghurs
Yeah, or Christians.
or Christians.
It's a good thing because otherwise I'd be terrified of the repetitiveness of history.
Yeah. About that.
And FDR's solution was to get the government more involved. And the U.S. was extremely ill-prepared for the 40s.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. And then FDR decided to kind of let go of the leash a little bit on federal control. And the free market started really kicking into gear. And it kicked the trash out of Germany and Japan.
A blessing from the Lord.
Yeah.
God be praised.
Every time the free market is allowed to actually be free, it destroys the competition. Literally destroys the competition.
Yeah.
Germany was decades ahead in research on nuclear weapons. We built it first. Sorry. It helps that Einstein defected and came to the U.S. and helped us out. But
He defected and came to the U.S. to help us out because
he knew Germany was crazy.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might be trying to screw me.
Well, of course they're trying to screw you.
The British had a head start on radar, and they gave everything they had to us, and we made it better. Like we've said before, if the U.S. does not invent the thing, it makes it better and cheaper. During the coronavirus thing, everyone was all panicking because we didn't have enough ventilators, or as Barack Obama put it, inhalators. Didn't have enough ventilators. So what did the free market do? So the government pointed out the problem. Said, we're running out of ventilators. We won't have enough ventilators to cover everything. They're extremely expensive to produce. And
Well, I guess I'm making ventilators now.
and take a long time to make. The free market, who doesn't want to be locked down, says, well, hey, if this will help free things up, here's a ventilator for $20.
Right.
And it worked. Some cases better than the actual thousands of dollars machines in the hospitals. But no, let's increase taxes. Let's But he's not increasing taxes, but he is. Isn't it convenient, though? And all of his plans last week, it would happen over the course of 8 years. Sounds awful convenient for someone that's only going to be in office for 8 years. And the taxes aren't going to affect you if you're making less than
8 years is awfully optimistic.
He doesn't know that yet.
He's the only one.
He doesn't know that yet. But then on top of that, he says, that the taxes are being increased on anyone making over $400,000.
But anybody under $400,000 doesn't have to pay a penny, and I'm holding him to that.
He did flub that one up in Georgia the next day. But that seems awful convenient because the salary for the President of the United States is
$400,000.
Oh.
Legal salary.
Legal salary, yes. Legal salary.
Being the operative word.
Very, very convenient timing of all that and placement. And also, I just lost it. Yep, I guess not also. Whenever a progressive proposes a law or a bill, it is safe to think that the exact opposite of the title of the bill is what's going to happen.
The Patriot Act.
The American Families Plan. The Right to Organize Act. That one.
The Green New Deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That one, actually, you can take word for word. We know what the New Deal is.
Which makes this one not really...
It's not a deal.
New.
Not a deal.
It's definitely not a deal.
And it's not really new. It's just got more money
And if you really look at it, it's really not green either.
Nah. So...
None of the above?
Yeah, so Joe Biden, he thinks it's absurd that parts for windmills and stuff are made in China and not the U.S. And he wants to bring that all to the U.S. And what better way to bring it all to the U.S. than to increase the corporate tax rate? There's no reason. There's no reason why it can't be made here. Which is why I'm proposing to increase the corporate tax rate.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
He also talked about some of these same companies avoiding paying taxes because they go overseas, they go to tax havens and all this stuff. So he's going to close all those loopholes and raise the corporate tax rate to make them pay their fair share. So you're going to make them not be in the U.S. Kind of like how Ford moved its operations to Mexico. A few months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, Mexico has a better corporate tax rate than the U.S.
Yeah.
Under Biden's leadership. Huh. But it's okay because Ford is getting that giant check for building electric cars for the federal government to replace its entire fleet with electric cars. And they're paying the taxes to Mexico. But on top of that, he wants to raise the, he talked about, I think this is in his Georgia rally, he talked about making it so tax on investments is the same as income. So whatever your income tax is, your investments will be taxed as such. But I put my investments in after taxes. Yeah, it's still getting taxed.
It's getting taxed again.
We're just going to tax that.
What happens if I lose money on my investment?
Oh, and I believe he said somewhere that he wants to increase the estate tax So when you die, all the stuff that you've already been taxed on multiple times to finally hand down to your children is going to be taxed at north of 50%, which is cool.
Because heaven forbid that somebody make a living and do well at life to
If you
leave
go and
their
watch-
children something.
If you go and watch his stupid speech, he talks about how there's no reason why Americans shouldn't be able to leave behind something for their children. Then why are you raising taxes on things that I leave behind for my children?
Why are you making it so I can't leave behind anything for my children? Because you take half of it and the other half of it ends up paying for my funeral.
Yeah. So, yeah. In a rebuttal to Biden's thing, Senator Tim Scott gave a speech, and the key part of his speech was America is not a racist country, because that's something else that Biden said in his speech. Was he praised the cops, especially the ones on January 6th. Most police are very heroic and perform their duties and all this stuff and blah, 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 praise, praise, praise. The next sentence, America is systemically racist. Well, are the cops racist or are they not? Which is it? And Tim Scott comes out and says, no, America is not a racist country. And liberals, in order to prove him wrong, proceeded to call him all sorts of racist things.
White women liberals, to prove him wrong, were extremely racist on air towards him.
Yeah, this was Tiffany Cross. She's not a white liberal, but...
Oh, I was thinking...
Yeah, this is the one I pulled up first.
Disparities and discrimination does not exist. Don't worry. I'll wait.
Hold on. This is actually important.
Can anyone name a political, social, or economic institution in America where widespread disparities and discrimination does not exist? Don't worry. I'll wait.
Yeah, every single state except New York and California. And probably Illinois. Mostly Chicago. And in New York and California, it's mostly New York City and then Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. You know, the major population areas that are controlled by Democrats.
Huh.
Yeah. And all of this Asian hate crime stuff that's spreading like wildfire across the U.S. seems to be concentrated a lot in a lot of the same cities I just mentioned. Anyway, not that matters to this guy. Anyway.
This is Michael Harriet, by the way. That's
Such a great question from my friend, The Roots, Michael Harriet, and I actually have an answer.
Oh.
The hollow institution that resides inside Republican Senator Tim Scott's head. No racism there, and apparently no sense either. This week, the sole black Republican in the Senate sounded a stone fool when he said this. Scott's head.
Oh. The sole black Republican in the Senate. How many black senators are on the Democrat side? 2. Granted, that's double what the Republicans have, but double of one isn't really a lot.
That's valid.
No racism there, and apparently no sense either. This week, the sole black Republican in the Senate
Now be warned,
sounded a stone
this
fool
is
when he said that.
This is going to be the pot calling the kettle, well, black.
Black.
Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Okay, let's be clear. Tim Scott does not represent any constituency other than the small number of sleepy, slow-witted sufferers of Stockholm Syndrome.
Look at the
who
conservatives she
get elevated to
hates.
prominence for repeating a false narrative about this country that makes conservative white people feel comfortable. Because when you speak an uncomfortable truth, like Nicole Hannah-Jones, the party that Scott's claims is
Nicole Hannah-Jones, the creator of the 1619 Project. She's got a little headline there. From the Gazette, 1619 Project creator Nicole Hannah-Jones says reparations for slavery must still be made. Progressive historians debunked the 1619 Project to such a degree that Nicole Hannah-Jones had to change the description of the 1619 Project to not be history anymore, but to be, what would it be like if this happened?
Because the 1619 Project is bullshit.
Yeah, like we said last week, if you didn't catch it in, what was the episode? Racism is Woven In. We shared a story towards the end of the episode that dismantles the foundation of the 1619 Project, which is slaves arriving in Virginia in 1619. Just one historical story dismantles the entire project. But I digress.
Is not racist, gets big mad and tries to silence you. Just this week, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell asked Education Secretary Miguel Cardona to scrap teaching the 1619 Project in schools because it would reorient the view of American history.
Yeah, because it does, according to the 1619 Project.
Lucky for McConnell, he has his own tap dancer to try and reorient the view of America
Tim
for him.
Scott's the tap
There were
dancer.
so many contradictions in the senator's speech that it was clear not even Scott believed the words he was speaking. I could go into great detail refuting each of his asinine points.
I dare
he
you.
did that for me. And moreover,
How do you know someone does not actually have any points to make?
Because they say a phrase like, I could go into great detail about X, and then don't.
Oh, so you have no evidence to support what you're saying. Cool.
lesson I've learned, don't argue with people Harriet Tubman would have left behind. And sure, Tim Scott has spoken out about his encounters with law enforcement.
Pretty sure
he co-sponsored
she wouldn't have
the
left
anti-lynching bill in the
anybody
Senate.
behind.
But there are two sides to every token. So thirsty for white approval, this dude actually stood on the national stage to defend the voter suppression law in Georgia, even though,
It wasn't.
as of last month, 361 bills were being introduced in 47 states to keep people who look like him out of the ballot box. The ability...
Show me in the Georgia law where it says that.
This is the most disgusting thing I have actually sat through and watched as far as just the vitriol here. Like, unfounded claims, the racial slurs. She referred to him as a token.
And a tap dancer.
And a
for the
tap
Republican
dancer.
Party.
Like, how do they get away with this bullshit?
Right here. See this in the corner? MSNBC. Corporate media.
If any conservative were to say anything like that about anybody.
About her. Because you could, everything she's saying about him, you could say about her.
Yeah.
He's just repeating things to make white people feel good.
Any
He's just,
conservative that were to say the same thing about her would get immediately railroaded.
Drummed out of office. In fact, there's a Texas Democrat that said Tim Scott is the Oreo for the Republican Party. Greg Abbott put his foot down and said, you damn well better resign.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Seriously,
did. Because the entire state of Texas rallied against him.
That is such horse shit to say that kind of thing about one of, like, really?
Yeah.
Holy hell. And did you see?
This is all because he does not think the way that she thinks.
And it gets worse because like MSNBC's followers and shit just carry it on everywhere else. Uncle Tim was trending on Twitter.
Yeah.
How do you get away with that without getting banned?
Yeah.
After all the
Donald Trump tweets out
piddly little shit that we get banned for all the time.
Donald Trump tweets out, "We love you, go home, knock it off," and he's banned forever from Twitter. People are blatantly racist against a sitting senator. That's fine. Because he's got an R next to his name, which means racist. I guess. Right? Is that how that works?
To shame the ancestors and appease the oppressors all in one speech, that's extreme. Though not quite like the domestic violent extremism that the Department of Homeland Security is investigating within its own ranks, mind you.
Yeah.
But please, Senator, say more about how unracist the country is while you trot out that tired line about going from cotton to Congress to clown. Perhaps this was merely Senator Scott's audition to be Sam Jackson's understudy in the film Django, because as a descendant of the enslaved and damn near a daily survivor of institutional racism, I can assure you the question, is America a racist country, is one that has been asked and answered many times over. Yet we still love America, not for what it was, but for what it could be.
Yeah, you don't love
On this
America.
one, you're not only on the wrong side of the aisle, Senator Scott, but you're embarrassingly on the wrong side of history as well.
No.
We'll try to figure out what exactly the GOP stands for after the break.
No, you're a hack. You, Tiffany Cross, are a liberal, progressive hack, and you repeat all of their talking points without doing any of your own homework. You just read the prompter. Prove me wrong. Oh, wait. You won't, because you could go into detail, but can't be sharing all that detail. Joy Behar, the most improperly named woman I've ever met. Not met, but seen, heard about. To Tim Scott, she said, you don't understand the difference between a racist country and systemic racism. It's just the... Joy.
Okay.
Joy.
I swear, if I hear one more liberal white woman telling black people what racism is, I'm gonna snap on somebody.
You're black. You don't know what racism is.
Like, for freaking real, man. Excuse the hell out of me.
Pardon?
Okay, of all of the people on any news channel that have a right to talk about this, she is like on the bottom of the list.
Didn't she dress in blackface?
She did.
Okay.
She did, and she categorized it as what was it? It was dressing as a beautiful black woman and wearing makeup that was a little bit darker than her skin color.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. But Megyn Kelly just asking a question.
Seriously, though. Like,
about blackface, and she's banned from TV.
Right to free speech and all that. She can say whatever the hell she wants, but I once had somebody explain to me what mansplaining was, and I think liberal womansplaining actually fits very well in that definition as well.
Oh, it fits a lot better than I've heard for mansplaining.
I know, right?
I've been called out for mansplaining, and my mansplaining was, here's the source for what I'm saying. And I got called out for mansplaining and unfriended and blocked.
Yeah.
So, you made a claim. I made a defense. You rebutted my defense. I provide source. I'm now mansplaining. Okay. Good talk. Good talk.
Yeah.
Well, let's...
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but...
No, it wouldn't have, because I was right. How do I know I was right? I know I was right because, much like What's-Her-Face from the last video, I could go into extreme detail, but... I'd have to actually look.
I could go into extreme detail, but then I would actually have to have sources and actually have studied any of this.
Who has time for that?
Who has time for that?
Bipartisanship is an obsession with the Republicans right now that Biden is not reaching.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no.
It is not.
I don't care about bipartisanship.
I would argue if a poll was done right now of Republican voters, the majority would not care a dime about bipartisanship right now. Because look what you're doing in the last 100 days. I don't want none of that. Especially when Republicans say, well, you want infrastructure? Okay, here's exactly the amount you have set aside for the actual infrastructure. Let's vote on that. Nope, can't do that.
Can't do that.
Or the Asian hate crime law thing that they're so proud about. You can't discriminate against Asian people. Seems like that's already a law on the books. You can't discriminate against someone because of
the color of their skin,
or their race or whatever. But anyway, Ted Cruz calls them out and adds an amendment to the bill that universities can't reject someone because they're Asian. And every Democrat voted against the amendment.
You know, I heard the handle go down a little while ago, and I'm starting to get dizzy from the swirl.
Roll for initiative.
Reaching across the aisle, okay? And yet, when he says, Biden, we're on track to cutting child poverty in half, you look around that chamber and nobody on the...
That's a great screen grab right there.
I like that.
That's perfect. Hold on.
Hold on. I need to snip this.
Hold on. I snippy snip. Anyway.
Unicate, snip, snip.
Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness.
And magically we have our screen grab.
Anyway, gonna cut child poverty in half. I want to know, isn't there laws against aren't there laws against child labor?
Yes.
So why are children poor?
Because their families are poor.
Oh, their parents.
Yes.
Oh, so the child themselves is not actually poor.
I would assume not, since I don't think they actually
they're
have
not earning
a census
income.
of children wealth, but you know, whatever.
Okay.
Not that I ever paid attention to child labor laws. I wanted to work, so I went to work.
Spark joy.
Does not spark joy.
All right. Anyway.
The Republican side is standing or clapping. Does that mean that they are for child poverty? When he says that he wants...
Hold on. The Democrats were standing at the same time, idiot.
clean
Seriously,
water.
though.
And Kevin McCarthy is sitting on his hands and not reacting. Does Kevin McCarthy like dirty water? Maybe he should, campaign on that. Dirty.
Or maybe Kevin McCarthy didn't want to stand up every time everyone's standing up. Or maybe Joe Biden gave the most boring presidential speech ever given, which is why Ted Cruz fell asleep.
Oh my gosh, did you see the meme
with the My Pillow?
With the My Pillow?
Sets the pillow behind.
Mike Lindell sneaking a pillow behind Ted Cruz. Oh, dude, I lost it. I was laughing so hard. It was so funny.
Anyway.
Water for everybody. As far as... And then the other thing I have to say is I thought it was brilliant. I thought Biden was incredibly warm and presidential and just great. And to see those two beautiful, intelligent, brilliant women behind him.
What about the intelligent, brilliant woman that used to be sitting in the stands every time that Donald Trump gave a speech, that could speak multiple languages, owned her own businesses, and was a fashion model?
And was vilified and just crucified by the media for 4 years.
Yeah, and who got to where she was, not because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump met her because she got to where she was.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't have met Donald Trump if she wasn't already in that area of stuff, of having her own fashion line, speaking multiple languages, being extremely intelligent, and being a model. That's when Donald Trump met her, is after she already accomplished all these things. Kamala Harris, has a very questionable upbringing in her rise to power. And Nancy Pelosi has been a politician her entire life. Woo!
Didn't forget. Just don't care.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like a real. I just felt wonderful. Now, Tim Scott.
Also, Joy, I don't want to break your heart.
Seem-
I don't want to break your heart, Joy, but technically Donald Trump had the first woman vice president because Kamala Harris was sworn in before Joe Biden was sworn in, which means that for a couple of minutes, Kamala Harris was Donald Trump's vice president.
That's terrible.
Donald Trump had the first gay cabinet member and had the first female vice president. Technically.
And a technicality.
To understand, and a lot of them don't seem to understand the difference between a racist country and a systemic racism. They don't seem to get the difference. Yes, maybe it's not a racist country. Maybe Americans, the majority, are not racist. But we live in a country with...
Maybe? If you get out of your little liberal echo chamber, you'll probably find a lot less racist people.
This needs more cowbell.
If only.
Systemic racism. We discussed it this week again already about housing and about education and all of the things that are important to people.
Housing, implemented by Democrats, destroys black families. Education, implemented by Democrats, destroys black families. What other beneficial program do you have, Joy, that was implemented by Democrats and has destroyed black families?
Entitlements.
Oh, destroyed black families.
Food stamps?
Destroyed black families.
Work boots.
Probably helped them a little bit.
Not established by Democrats either.
Nah.
In fact, I believe it was who invented the work boot? Now I have to Google
Off to the rabbit hole he goes.
And the fact that Tim Scott cannot acknowledge this is appalling. How can you go out there and say that when you just said 2 minutes ago that you were the object and the victim of discrimination? And then he says that this is not a racist country.
Yeah, because he went through all of that and he knows the difference. He was there when the Civil Rights Act became a thing and racism was basically swept away. Civil Rights Act, by the way, not supported by Democrats, supported by Republicans. Slavery, supported by Democrats. Upheld in a Democrat-controlled Supreme Court that slavery was constitutional multiple times. But please, Joy, tell me how the Republicans and black people who are Republican are wrong because they don't understand the difference between your progressive agenda and everything else.
At least acknowledge that there is systemic racism. That's what I wanted to hear from him, and he didn't say it. Bipartisanship is...
Please acknowledge a lie. Acknowledge the lie. He did. He said that it's not. So, and by the way...
I love how she said that that's what she wanted to hear.
Yeah. She wanted him to acknowledge that there is
just
systemic
because
racism.
you want someone to say something to...
Believe the lie. Believe the lie.
To validate your falsehood?
I'm not going to validate what I believe is a lie. I'm not going to endorse bad behavior because you will continue to do the bad behavior. And if there was systemic racism, because this all started because of George Floyd last year. This all went out of control with the George Floyd thing because Eric Chauvin was a racist police officer who killed a black man because he was black and the police officer was white and had a thing to kill black people. The only problem with that is even the...
Sorry. Continue on.
You found the end of the rabbit hole?
I found more rabbit hole.
Oh.
Yes.
Because even the prosecution, the attorney general for the state, who is not at all a friend of conservative thought, admitted that they had nothing to point to Eric Chauvin being a racist. Otherwise, they would have brought it up in court. But they brought up nothing in court for him being a racist. The final verdict was all based on bad policing practices, bad personal choices, things like that. Actually, it wasn't even bad policing practices. It was just he made a mistake. Because, and it wasn't bad policing practices, but the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, is investigating the police force and their training. But it wasn't the police force's training.
So you want to hear the rabbit hole?
Yeah. Take us to the hole.
So, work boots as we know them today originated from the sabot, which is, or sabot, I have no idea how to pronounce that, which is the wooden clogs from France and the surrounding area, like the Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, whatever. You know, those like novelty ones that they still sell.
Yes.
So they used to wear those as work boots to protect their feet.
Makes sense.
Mostly farmers and stuff like that. But then during the Industrial Revolution, they started wearing them in the factories and stuff like that.
Right.
It's
Plopping
also
around.
where the word sabotage came from. Because it was... sabotage comes from... a disgruntled worker who willfully damaged workplace machinery. So they called it sabotage because the workers wore the sabots.
They'd stick their boot in the machine, basically.
So it was basically the word was just a metaphor for the fact that the worker was the one breaking things. So
French are weird.
The sabot was the like, I guess, representation of the working class, the work boot.
Right.
And so that's where the word sabotage came from.
All right.
So there you go.
All right.
That's what I found. I still don't know who made them, who invented it. But, I mean, boots and stuff have been around for forever, so who knows? But
what about the modern steel toe boot? What about that?
The modern steel toe boot, I can look that one up.
Yeah, see, that's probably more the answer you were initially looking for, I bet.
But this was fun nonetheless.
It was. There's your slice of history for the day. The more you know. Let's see. Kind of related to those two videos, the Biden administration is partnering with private firms to monitor extremist chatter online because the government can't legally do it unless it's the post office, apparently.
The origin of the steel toe boot is also lost to history.
Boo!
It can be traced to at least the start of the 20th century when industrial safety became an issue. But they don't know who actually created it.
All right, then. He'll go down in history with the Alamo, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, so from CNN, and of course, the picture that they have is... Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. That's embarrassing. The picture that they have is the January 6th riot on the Capitol. The Department of Homeland Security is limited in how it can monitor citizens online without justification and is banned from activities like assuming false identities to gain access to private messaging apps used by extremist groups such as the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers or Antifa or BLM. Maybe if you want to actually write a headline like this, CNN, maybe do a little bit of both. Maybe. Instead, federal authorities can only browse through unprotected information on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. If you put public, they can see it. If you put friends only or private, they can't see it. Quote unquote. They can't see it. Instead, a source familiar with the effort said it's not
that
about,
again.
Yeah. Said it's not about decrypting data, but rather using outside entities who can legally access these private groups to gather large amounts of information that could help DHS identify key narratives as... Okay, so the government... The federal government legally can't spy on you because, I don't know, something about the Fourth Amendment being securing your persons, right? Is it the Fourth? But Twitter... they can look at your stuff, and if they happen to tell us something, then we have to act on this extremist action that they were privy to. The government can't spy on you. The government can't just walk into your house and see what you're doing. But if your neighbor that you invited in is a little suspicious of what you've got going on, they can leave your house, call the government. The government can show up at your house with whatever warrant they need to look around and find whatever thing is offending them. But yeah, in response to CNN's story, Department of Homeland Security said it is not partnering with private firms to surveil suspected domestic terrorists online, and it is blatantly false to suggest that the department is using outside firms to circumvent its legal limits. Is it? All of our work to address the threat of domestic terrorism is done consistent with the Constitution and other appreciable law, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we're not working with other firms. We just kind of put out a thing that if you have something, let us know. Just like they're not going to take your firearms away. They're just going to increase the tax on firearms. And they're going to increase the tax on ammunition. So it's just harder to get. You can still get it. It's just harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll end on a high note here. Actually, one more thing before the high note on the tax thing. So Biden said that he's going to tax corporations, and this is something progressives do all the time. It's not a tax on you; it's a tax on the corporations,
which is a tax on you.
So when you go to the store and you buy something, then at the end of the receipt it says sales tax. That's what the store has to pay to the government for making a sale. It's not what you have to pay for buying something. It's not a buy tax. It's a sales tax. You did not sell the gallon of milk to the store. The store sold the gallon of milk to you. And in so doing, accrues a tax from the government to sell the milk. But you have to pay that tax.
Yeah.
That's how it works every time.
Yeah. So you notice that when you buy things, the price that they put on it isn't the price that you pay. It's because they have to charge you the tax that they get charged.
And this drives people in Europe crazy when they come here because they see it's $3. They go and ring it up. All right, that'll be $3.50. It says $3. Yeah, there's sales tax, but I didn't sell it.
No, we sold it to you, so you're paying what we have to pay for that.
In Europe, we just put what the actual price is. We technically do too. We're just idiots and sheepily go along with whatever we're told. Anyway, on a high note, Mitt Romney thought it'd be a good idea to show up at the Utah GOP convention. And it didn't end well.
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
Exactly. There he goes. So, it's hard to hear. The first thing he says is, what do you think of Biden's first 100 days, huh? And he kind of chuckles because I think he thinks the boos are kind of about that. But I think he also realized the booze happened before he said that.
Before he stepped up, yeah.
Thank you.
It's mixed. There's a little bit of clapping. He's pointing at the 4 people that are clapping.
Thank you.
I love you, random citizen.
Man, that guy in the back hates him.
Oh. Yeah.
He's making his voice heard.
Yeah.
So what do you think about President Biden's first 100 days?
Tries again.
Didn't he already say that?
He tried again.
Now, you know me as a person who says what he thinks, and I don't hide the fact that I wasn't a fan of our last president's character issues. And I'm also no fan.
Ooh. Yeah, that's part of the problem is you let his character issues get in the way of his policy.
And not only that, but you let your personal feelings get in the way of your representation.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to vote what you think is right. You're supposed to vote what you think your constituents want.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Especially when you were voted in riding on Trump's coattails.
Yeah.
That means your constituents like that you like Trump. And then, at the first chance you get, you stab him in the back. You slimy worm. Show the senator respect. He's got to earn it. Just because he's got the title doesn't mean he's earned the respect. Just because Joe Biden is president does not mean I respect the man. I will respect the office. I will not respect the man.
Yeah.
Until he has earned my respect. I respect the office because of presidents like George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, those kinds of presidents. Ronald Reagan. I respect the office because of what those guys did, because they earned my respect. I have yet to give my respect to you, Mr. Romney.
Aren't you embarrassed?
No.
Not a little bit.
And I'm also no fan of the president's...
And this is...
Cox tries to step in and rescue the senator.
Yeah. And this is... to be clear, harassing him on a plane, not so cool.
Yeah.
Harassing him when he's walking on the street, not so cool. Showing up to his house to harass him, not very cool.
Not all right.
No.
It's not okay.
At a convention where the party that he represents, yeah, let him know how you feel. Verbally. Don't actually go up and attack him or anything like that, because that's a crime.
Yeah, that's not okay.
That's bad. And now Cox to the rescue after he tweeted out something about how the Jazz isn't racist for being racist.
Yeah, sure. My friends, this is the moment I was talking about. Please, thank you, show respect.
That wasn't Cox. That was I don't know who he was. You can boo all you like, said Romney. I've been a Republican all my life. By name. My dad was the governor of Michigan.
And look at where that's at now.
That's a great place. And I was a Republican nominee for president 2012. Yeah. Most everyone regrets you
voting for you.
Yeah, it was the outgoing party chairman that stepped up. Let's see. Aren't you embarrassed? Romney asked the crowd at one point. Nah. This was what's
oh yeah, Cox was there too, but he was a different talk that also received boos.
Yeah. What's even more fun with this is Mitt Romney barely squeaked out from being censored by the party. It's just
he should have been
barely. I have a feeling he's not getting reelected.
I hope he doesn't. Well, I won't be voting for him, so.
Nah, because, again, he hasn't earned my respect. Mike Lee has earned
Mike
my
Lee
respect.
will be receiving every vote I can possibly give him.
I got one of those survey phone calls for politics. It was about senators and stuff here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think of this person? I don't really know him. What if I told you this person said this? That sounds bad, but I'd have to actually look at their policies to give
to confirm that.
What about Mike Lee? Absolutely voting.
Absolutely love the man.
Any further questions involving Mike Lee, just assume it is going to be in the positive.
Yeah, just mark down every question you have for Mike Lee
out that
in the
just
5-star
put
rating.
a line right straight down all the 5s for Mike Lee. Do I agree with him 100%? No.
No. But I feel like he has done a fantastic and phenomenal job.
I don't expect to agree with everyone 100%.
No.
Mike doesn't like coconut. I like coconut.
I don't like coconut.
That's
You're
what
right.
That's what I said.
Exactly.
We disagree on that.
We disagree on coconut.
And yet here we are doing a stupid podcast together.
Exactly.
Yeah. We can overcome
It's
our
fine.
differences. Is it a fundamental difference? No.
No.
That just means if I make coconut treats, I get to eat all of them.
That's right. As well as the no-bake cookies.
I don't put coconut in my no-bake cookies.
Yes, but oatmeal is gross and everything. So.
Oh, well then, twofer.
Twofer. You can now put coconut in your no-bake cookies and realize that I won't eat them anyway.
Winning.
And that's the other thing that's awesome is that Mike Lee was also there and addressed the crowd and received a warm reception.
Yeah.
Because Mike Lee actually
Does his job.
Well,
He ran
in
on a
fact.
platform and he sticks to that platform. If you present a platform to the voters and the voters vote for you on that platform and you stray from that platform, Romney, they start to not like you very much. Yeah. Especially when your platform is in line with the only person that seemed to be holding back all this madness that we're now facing. Yeah, they're not going to like you when you show up. Not going to like you at all.
You can't be one of the people smashing the dam with a sledgehammer and expect the people in the valley to appreciate your work. Just saying.
I've been a Republican my whole life. Yeah, Benedict Arnold was a colonialist his whole life, too.
We all know how that turned out.
He ended up getting a spy that ended the war for the British. What? Check our last episode.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I think there's a couple more that I missed, but we're running late.
Yeah.
What was the one I missed? The Mask is Theater. Yeah, we all know that. But the White House spokesperson lady, I don't know, the gal that makes sure that Biden gets his pudding on time. It admits to it. To CNN. Jake Tapper actually asked some kind of hard questions. It's almost as if CNN isn't getting the access to the president that they thought they would get. So they're asking tough questions every once in a while. Scattered showers of journalism is starting to turn into a full-on storm. It's slowly, but it's getting there. Oh, did you see... I don't think we talked about this yet, but the California officially has the votes needed to proceed forward with the recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, poor Newsom. Poor Gavin.
Yeah.
Gavin,
No, I don't feel any pity for that man.
None.
Zero.
Zip. Zero. A zilch. Yeah, that's the news. Next week will probably be full of worse stuff. The way this keeps going. Oh,
it's so bad. It's like every week I think I'm just sitting there like, I mean, it's just going to continue to slide downhill, but is it going to go faster or worse than it is right now, or is it just going to...
Does the accelerator have more room to go down, or is it maxed out?
I'm pretty sure the pedal's already touching the floorboard, so why does it seem like every week it just...
The hill is getting steeper and steeper. No, I said
and then the other part of me is like, at some point, it's got to stop. I don't know if I want to be there when it does.
Remember, it's not the speed that kills you. It's the sudden stop.
It's the sudden stop at the bottom.
I said at the beginning of the year, let's make this year the year of the people. Seems strange that the federal government is doing everything it can, apparently, visually, to make it as not the year of the people as possible when you have Joe Biden saying, we the people are the government. But if you want to look up some good stories, you can go to Southlake, Texas, where parents rose up and completely demolished progressives running for school board there because they found out that the school board illegally voted to implement critical race theory in the schools at Southlake, to the point where 2 school board members are in jail now because of it. And the parents said, nah, that's not happening. And in case you don't know, you can go check this story out too. Southlake school system has 0 race inequality in test results. Everyone's scoring high. Doesn't matter if they're black, white, poor. Poor kids can be just as bright, just as smart
as white kids.
Yeah.
In the immortal words of
Joe Biden,
our great and glorious leader, President Biden. May he live eternally.
Yeah, so you got stories like that. There's little pockets of stories everywhere. There's the farmers are suing the Biden administration for racial disparaging because if you're white, you can't apply for a loan as a farmer for one of their new laws. Well, that seems a little
racist.
Yeah.
Only a lot of racist.
Yeah. Florida is the most free state in the union now.
Didn't see that one coming.
No.
Did not see that one coming.
Who had Florida's freest state on their apocalyptic bingo?
Apocalyptic bingo.
Yeah, DeSantis just signed a handful of laws.
It's all right. Texas is finally freer than Utah. So they passed their constitutional carry. Yeah.
Yeah. Greg Abbott's really good at doing what other governors are doing. He used to take the lead, and now he's just kind of following along. But yeah, in Florida, DeSantis just signed a bunch of things and rescinded executive orders surrounding COVID stuff. Businesses aren't allowed to discriminate because you don't have a vaccine.
Good.
And
I think he made the vaccine passport thing illegal too.
Yep. The passport's illegal. If there's rioting going on, you're going to jail if you're rioting.
Good, as it should be.
If you're stuck in rioting, you can plow on through them.
Good, as it should be.
And of course, all of that stuff is racist. But, when you have no evidence to support your rebuttal to something, just call it racist because you don't have to prove that someone's racist, but they have to prove that they're not racist.
Innocent until proven not guilty?
Yeah, tell that to Chauvin.
Ooh. Low blow. Mistrial.
Yeah, that's happening.
Most likely. Well, hopefully. It should happen because that was
bad
a
stuff.
shit show
And
from the beginning.
You know, Joe Biden, the most popular president in U.S. history, which is why he garnered just barely more viewers than the Oscars on his speech, 11.5 million. Meanwhile, the NFL draft happened and 12.6 million people tuned in to watch a bunch of college kids get $1 million contracts with various football teams. They found that more entertaining than watching the President of the United States talk about autocracy being better than, quote, democracy. We're not democracy. We're a republic. Yeah. But yeah, this year can still be the year of the people. You just have to fight back. Fight like hell, as a certain Crowder commentator would say. Because the government will do this, that, and the other and try to ruin your life. But in the end, if you think the American dream is dead, it's because you have given up on your dream.
Yep.
So the American spirit is, I will accomplish my dream no matter what the obstacle is. I will find a way to go over, under, around, or through the obstacle to achieve my dream. That is what has made America the greatest country in the world, because it's filled with people who do not stop because someone with authority says they need to stop. Yeah. And it's going to suck if all this stuff keeps moving forward the way it is. But Sunday will come. We just celebrated Easter a while ago. Sunday will come. No, I'm not saying God is coming, although I wouldn't frown on it.
One of my buddies the other day was like, the best part of all this is that I know that, as all this stuff goes sideways and whatever, it just means that we're that much closer to the second coming. And I was like, I don't want that. You realize what happens before that point, right? I don't want to live through that. I don't want to be a part of that. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I've gotten to the point where I'm fine with living through that. But I don't want to live through that thinking that I did nothing to try to prevent it.
There's that.
Because I feel like that judgment will be harsher than, you knew this was coming? Yeah, and you did nothing to try to stop it? Well, that's what was supposed to happen, right? Yeah, but you still could have tried.
You could have tried.
My brownies were almost done, and I had to come sooner than expected.
My excuse is just going to be, look, cardio was involved.
Cardio.
I just can't.
Look at me. Look at me.
I just don't. Have you seen me?
You know me.
You know me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, the 2 or 3 of you that watch on the YouTubes. It won't upload to Rumble. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Unless it's a really short thing, then it'll upload to Rumble.
We should check out Locals and see if we can get it on there.
Yeah. We're thinking of doing a Locals thing. Maybe do a thing where we do what we do, and then we'll do a little extra thing that we put on Locals, and you can catch it there.
Yeah.
Don't know what that would be exactly yet, and it might be us talking crap about the Star Wars sequels or something. I don't know.
That's because the Star Wars sequels are trash.
Well, don't insult trash like that.
That's not wrong. You are not.
Anyways,
wrong.
that's all. That's it.
We're
done.
We're done. We're done.
Bye.
Bye.
Wrong.
Wrong again.
Still wrong.
Still wrong.
And bye.
Ba-da-ba-ba. ba ba.
Bum, 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 bum. Lovely. Now that we have our vocals stretched, we're all warmed up.
Vocal warm-ups.
Round the ragged bush, the rabbit.
If the emperor was Biden.
You see, Lone Star. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, tongue twisters. I don't know any.
3 free fleas.
Yeah, I don't know any of those.
She sells seashells down by the seashore.
Sounds abound when the mouth is round.
Yes.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
How much wood could woodchuck chuck? Woodchuck could chuck wood. If woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would woodchuck chuck?
A synonym for cinnamon is a cinnamon synonym.
Yes.
A proper cup of coffee from a proper copper coffee pot.
Thank you, Mr. Fox and Socks. Sir.
I like that one.
Fox and Socks?
A proper cup of coffee from a proper copper coffee pot. That one's kind of fun to say.
Unique New York. Unique New York.
A synonym for cinnamon is a cinnamon synonym. Gosh, that one messed me up. Sounds abound when the mouth is round.
Today's reading of Dr. Seuss is brought to you by
Bad Dr. Seuss lip readings.
Ooh.
Is that a thing?
Is that a
should
thing?
That should be a thing.
There's an idea for a new series.
Except for it's not really lip reading because they're books, but they were movies. And maybe they have bad lip readings. I don't know.
Well, which Grinch do you choose? The one with John Kerry or the one with Benedict Cumberbatch?
Oh, definitely Benedict Cumbersnatch.
All right.
Yeah. Benedict Cumbersnatch is a wonderful, wonderful actor, and I love everything that he does. Mostly.
Most of the all the time.
That one movie he was a doctor in was a little strange. All right, let's start.
Da 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 da. Bah.